Welcome to the Integrated Man podcast, where this podcast is all about helping you become a more integrated man and what that looks like. I know there are parts of us all over with that sometimes don't connect to one another. We do a really good job at compartmentalizing our lives, and I think the intention that God has for our lives is that those parts are to be integrated. So that's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about today. I want to introduce my guest, Darby. Darby is, I'm going to let you give your bio real quick, but Darby and I have been friends for many, many years, and we've been not like childhood friends, but like, a considerable amount of time. So we've been meeting for coffee regularly for, I think, 5 years. Coming up on 5.
I feel like we keep saying 5, so
it's been a decade, but we say 5 years. So
it's been a while.
Darby, welcome. Give us a quick bio on who you are, what you do, kind of what your connection is to masculinity, and a little bit about what we're talking about.
Sure. So so my name is Darby, and I value faith, family, and pursuit. I consider myself an entrepreneur and a builder. I like building businesses in general. I run a couple of martial arts academies, so I teach Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to kids and adults, and I have a strong emphasis on character development, self-defense, and community in that. And so I do that. And then outside of that, I'm kind of branching into a season of my life where we get to build different businesses, which is super exciting. Yeah. So I currently run, and I'm a partner in a mitigation business, and my wife, Amanda, we're always doing things together. We're a team, and she's kind of leading the way on the real estate side of things.
Great. Great. Well, let's talk about being a man.
Yeah.
So you've been in the martial arts world for how many years?
About 26 almost.
All right. There's so you're a 2-stripe white belt, something like that.
Yeah, definitely a 2-stripe white belt. I think I'm like
up for your 3rd stripe.
half year past due on my second degree for my black belt.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like at this point you just kind of hang around, and eventually coach gives you a degree or something, but you keep investing, and it's more just, definitely about the journey. You're going to spend more time. If you keep doing your whole life, you'll spend more time as a black belt than the first getting started 10 years, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that world of, machismo and proving and all of that stuff, I'm sure you encounter a ton of guys that come in that are just like hungry to prove something, or maybe guys that come into your world that are like, this is what it means to be a man. If I can get that next level belt, that'll make me a man. Or if I can submit that guy, that'll make me a man, or whatever it is. Let's talk a little bit about that, and maybe some of the guys that you see that come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's just the way you said that kind of reminds me of my motivations when I first started training, which I don't often actually think about. I don't often think back to when I first started. My mindset and my motivations unwittingly were probably to prove myself.
Sure.
And so I see a lot of that. I see a lot of guys coming in that some want to make sure that they can take care of themselves and their families should they have to go hands-on in a situation. And some come in wanting to prove to themselves and everybody else that they are the toughest guy. They are the toughest guy on the planet. And, there's a wide range of fear and delusion. And there's some realism, if somebody comes in and they're fairly well grounded, they're aware that they don't have a great game plan, other than seeing red and just, getting after it. Yeah. Those guys usually come in ready to learn. And then there's some people that come in for whatever reason, their life experience, they think this is the proving ground for them. And the mat doesn't lie. It's not, nobody thinks to themselves, if I talk to someone who's been an electrician their whole life, right? I don't think I'm just going to be able to beat them at electricity, like all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so it's weird that in the martial arts world, you have people come in who think like, I've never trained a day in my life. I'm going to be able to take everybody. Yeah. It's just delusional.
Right.
So, and there's on the flip side, I've been training a long, long time. Right. And there's a level of humility and realism that comes with it where I'm like, I understand both technique and physics. Yeah. So I know that just because I know a lot doesn't mean that I'm impervious to getting smashed,
right. Right.
So there's a level of humility on the flip side that comes in, like the longer you train, the more you are aware of how things could go sideways.
Right.
And, and there's a range of people that come in with different levels of insecurity, realism, sometimes just fear of like, I know that I don't know anything, but I want to be able to take care of myself if I need to in that situation. So,
yeah. Well, and I think that, that points to two different upbringings, two different types of, personality types. We'll go to the Myers-Briggs and, are all these people, type A personalities or lions or whatever, type D, high Ds. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Or, or is it just, they say, what is it? Nature versus nurture type of stuff. Yeah. Is it that type of thing? So, but it does point to a few things. What do you think a guy who comes in, or maybe you've had some conversations and this, what do you think a guy who comes in with that level of confidence to be like, I've seen these guys. I've seen these guys on TV, or I've seen, I've watched all these reels where these techniques and they can do this and they can do that. But like you said, the mat doesn't lie. Yeah. It separates posers from guys who really know what they're doing. What do you think how does that mindset infiltrate a guy?
So I'm laughing because I'm thinking immediately of one of my more recent students who took the record for he took the record. Now, to his credit, I love the guy, first of all. To his credit, he stuck around, and most people with this mentality don't stick around. Okay. Right? Because their ego can't handle it. Right. Right. Sure. So you come in and I've had people come in and different trades kind of attract different types of people. Yeah. Sometimes I wish that every law enforcement officer and first responder would train jujitsu, because it gives you a set of tools that are before the set of tools that are lethal or dangerous, that kind of thing. It gives you a way wider range of how to handle a situation to keep yourself and other people safe, right? Right. And so I wish every law enforcement officer would train jujitsu. And you get a couple of different types of people that come from that industry who are, looking to help, but there's a certain psychology that might attract someone to law enforcement. And sometimes you end up with people who they do have an ego, and their ego can't handle being in a situation where they don't have control at all. Right. And that's where it's very difficult to get through to them, because part of the process of jiu-jitsu is realizing that every day I come in, I'm going to be in a situation where I am not going to have the upper hand. Right. 100%. I'm just not going to have it. Right. So I get this guy. Let's see. So I won't share his name because I haven't asked his permission yet. But I get this guy coming in, and he's not law enforcement or anything like that, but he's a younger guy, early 20s. Sure. And he's got this chip on his shoulder, tough guy kind of persona, where if you're projecting this tough guy persona, a little bit too loud, right? Yeah. You kind of know immediately this guy doesn't have a chance. He doesn't stand a chance. Oh, yeah. Right? So he does the class, and the class was a technical-based class. So we have different modalities for teaching, and some of them are task-based games, which there's a level of resistance involved where you're trying to achieve a position, a submission, or an objective. Yeah. And then sometimes there's just technical learning the path. Hey, here's how you do this complex movement to do a triangle choke or something like that. And it was one of the technical classes. Well, the technical class doesn't involve any proof of concept per se. You're not fighting first and then saying see, here's what works. You're trusting the coach to say, yeah, this choke works, right? And you know it works because you get choked in class, but you're like,
right.
In his brain, he's like, but in a real fight, I would just, and that you hear all the time. In a fight, I would just do this. Or what if he does this, What if he, and we could play what if until literally forever. Like, well, what if he has a death ray on a satellite in space? And
right.
I don't, it's like, who knows? Yeah. Who knows, man? But he just doesn't think this is going to work. At the end of class, I do this drill called the, it's like a mount escape drill. So you're in a bottom of a bad position.
Yep.
And I like to do this with new students because it demonstrates the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu. And it's a very simple drill where we say, hey, a lot could happen in a bad situation in a short amount of time. Right. So whether it's in competition, you're on the bottom of the mountain, you got to get out in a short amount of time, or someone breaks into your house and you're on the bottom, you get caught off guard, you get on the bottom and you have to get out in a short amount of time. Yeah. That's the scenario for the drill. And I tell them, hey, don't bite or punch me or anything like that. Right. We're just going to try to, just because, we're not doing that right now on the first day. Let's just try to get out from the bottom. And that's kind of the drill. So we start there. They're on the bottom of the mount, 30 seconds. That's it. And they quickly realize that they can't get out. You can't get out. And so then we switch roles and I'm on the bottom, right? And it's great if they're like significantly like bigger or stronger than me. That helps a ton because then they're just like, oh my gosh, this works great. So we switch roles and every time, right? Trap, roll, it's just leverage, timing, and technique.
Right.
And they're like, oh, most people at that moment, the light bulb goes on and they're like, oh my gosh, jiu-jitsu is amazing.
Not this guy.
This guy's like, well, let's do it again. Let's run it back again. He's like, well, what if I was punching you and that kind of thing? And I don't know what was into me that day, but, I've got a really good MMA pedigree background from training with like some of the top fighters in the world. And, you're
like, well, bring it.
And great wrestling. And I was just like, all right, man. Because I knew I wasn't getting through to him. We did this drill twice already. And I was like, look, all right. Do you think if you were punching me, that would change the dynamics of what would happen? And I said, look, I'm not going to punch you. I'm not going to do that. Okay. But if you feel like that's going to help you in this situation, I want you to try and punch me, try and take me out, and because I don't know, maybe this was my ego getting there where I'm just like, come on, man, It
was the teacher in you. You're like, okay, this guy's not going to, he's going to have to learn the hard way.
He's not going to get it. And I would never do this. If you come to my gym right now and you do this, I will not entertain this idea. Right. But for whatever reason with him, I was like, I don't know. Maybe I had compassion on him in this. I was like, you need to learn today. And so he gets, on top and he just starts throwing his punches at me and all this stuff. And I just tie him up, put him on the bottom and I just hang out and I pretend to punch him in the face a few times. Like, see? And he's like, and then he goes, can we do one more? I was like, gosh. Man. So we did one more and he didn't land a single punch. Mm-hmm. Right now to his credit, he still trains jiu-jitsu. Okay. He just doesn't learn quickly. Yeah. And most of it is because of like, he's learning faster now, for sure. And I love the kid to death. He's a great student. Yeah. But it is this like, puff in your chest, have to be the tough guy kind of mindset. And, and in his head, it's just like his brain's not getting through to the part where it's like, I would just do this and it's like it's not working over here in reality this is just not working. So is it nature, is it nurture? He's got some family members who kind of brothers, cousins, that kind of thing, and just comes from like tough guy background and they whoop on him, so he's always trying to prove himself and trying to get up there with them. So there's that side of that nurture in there, and I think there is a nature and there is a nurture. I actually think I'd say about like 60% or more is more of the nature, more your biology, that kind of thing, your makeup. But then nurture has a huge role as well, like your upbringing, your relationship with the men around you in your influence, in your sphere of whatever, your world. That has a lot to do with how you relate to other guys, right? How you are going to interact with the men around, how you carry yourself down the street. So.
And he could still be training for ego because he wants to get one up on his brothers.
Yeah, well, 100%, 100% he is, absolutely.
He's like, now this works, so maybe I'll do that now. But I think there's also a way, and whether it's the just certain personalities that are like his or not, because you can learn from other people's wisdom.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to learn it yourself. I've seen this, you've probably seen it raising kids. I mean, we have blind spots to ourselves. Of course, we don't see our own where we messed it up. But I've seen this with raising kids. I'm like, I don't care how many times I tell the kid something, he's just not going to learn unless he experiences it for himself and experiences the pain that comes along. Well, either pain that comes along with it or humility that comes along with it. Because if you feel humiliated, there is the opportunity to take that to a step of being humbled, right? That hopefully will make you humble, and humble is a good quality. Yeah. While being humiliated doesn't feel good, being humble is a good quality, and just the opposite of pride, and which you see with a lot of these guys with, coming in and puffing up their chest. So with that lens, kind of how would you define being a man, either in that world, the jiu-jitsu world, or just the world in general, and maybe how is it contrary to how the world says
I think when we're talking about being a man, there's the thing that makes it whole and healthy is probably humility. It's probably having this confidence. I used to read in Matthew chapter 5 when the Beatitudes, Jesus is talking about blessed are the gentle, the humble, the meek, for they will inherit the earth.
Right.
And I kind of did a deep dive. What is he talking about? What does humble, humility, meekness mean? And one of the things I read in there was meekness is this idea of like a horse, which is a powerful animal. It's a powerful creature, but it's bridled and it's under the direction of something else. And if we are a real man with confidence, right? It's not ego in the sense of a mask. It's not ego in the sense of trying to project so that everybody else knows. Right? But it's, I don't actually need to prove myself to you. I'm confident in who I am. I have the strength. I have the will and the confidence, and I have the humility. I'm approachable. I know that there's things that I don't understand that I could get from you that you could get from me. And so I think that's part of it. I don't have a great concise definition just yet, but I think that's something there. When I see a healthy man, like he's out there and he's doing it, he is strong and he is getting after it, and he's respected. Like people respect that guy, but that guy is not unapproachable, and that guy is not wearing a mask. He's not faking it. Right. And if you start to try to down talk them or bring them down, you might not even be worth their time. They might not respond to you. Because who cares? Like I know who I am, and I've got focus right now.
Kind of that inner confidence of like, it really doesn't matter what you say. I know that what you say doesn't affect who I really am. So going back to the bridle, I like that example, like this big, powerful beast, right? And he's being held by a little, or guided and directed by this little piece of steel that's in his mouth, that he's allowing the person on his back, or that's leading him to kind of lead, guide, and direct. But then you see, a horse without a bridle, and they're running around and having fun and bucking and rolling in the dirt and all that stuff, and that's great. In your opinion, what are some of the bridles that we can kind of take on?
For like the very base for me is submission to the highest order for my creator. And I think it has to start there, because otherwise you're misinformed.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory way or anything to someone who thinks differently. I'm open to conversation, but what I'm looking at is I exist in a world that supersedes me.
Sure.
Right. And then there's something that caused this thing to come into existence that supersedes it.
Yeah.
And so
Right. Yeah.
immediately I don't have a say in any of that. So if I don't just start there, if I don't just start at the beginning, at the foundation, and just say, like, I need to be subject, whether like, first of all, you are, whether or not you agree with it.
Right.
Like, no one's going to save you if an asteroid destroys our planet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're subject to certain forces that are outside of your control.
Yep.
And so I think immediately the foundation needs to be the highest order, the highest aim is what I'm subject to.
Yeah.
That's the first bridle.
Yeah.
Right? If I can start there, then I know the foundation is humility. Right? So
Yeah.
you can build on that at least, right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, it probably moves into, like, second order and things like that, where, for me, it's faith, family, and pursuit.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, what's right here around me? That's my family.
Yeah.
I'm called to make sure that their aim is up, that we're making the world a better place by our actions and our conduct. Mm-hmm. And the pursuit is kind of the adventure side of it. It's kind of that horse that you're talking about that does look like he's having fun.
Right.
That he's out there running around and exploring. But that horse needs to be aware that there's some danger out there.
Yeah. Well, and if you kind of keep it in that order,
Yeah.
right, your pursuit never supersedes your family.
Yep.
Or your faith.
Right.
You're trying to always do the pursuit things with your family in mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, having the provision and protection and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to go off doing something crazy and destroying everything that my family needs
Yeah.
because of a vain pursuit or
Right.
or even a godly pursuit or an there is wisdom to be wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
But again, that faith also connects to, like you said, the higher power, right?
Yeah.
We're men of Christian faith.
Dude, for sure. Yep.
It's God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit to
Yeah.
us. And, but either way, if you're on a faith journey or if you're on an exploration journey, most people that I talk to, that will say, yep, I do believe there's a higher power that we are subject to. And that's an area that you can either shake your fist at,
Yeah. Yeah.
and try and pull against the bridle that's on you. And that doesn't work out very well.
Right. Right.
for many guys that I've seen. Or you can go, yeah, there are some things that are just out of my control. And I've got to look at that and figure out, I'm going to either let it affect my life on a negative way, or I'm going to let it be a positive influence in my life and go, okay, how can I take this thing that happened that was out of my control that maybe I view in the lens of it being a negative now.
Yeah.
But 10 years down the road, I may look back and go, that wasn't so bad.
Right.
That happened. But then I flip it around, I turn it around and turn it into a positive, a learning experience, a wisdom experience for sure, doing something like that. So I think that's really good, is allowing yourself to be controlled in those areas to go, yeah, I know there's something bigger out there.
Yeah.
There's something, because if we just focus on ourselves, we run out of things to do pretty quick.
Right. And I think it gets so the foundation's pretty broad, and so where it gets more specific is when you start with this idea. When I start with this idea of faith, then everything kind of you start to ask all the questions.
Sure.
And that kind of lends itself to the how am I supposed to live? What is the best way to live?
Right.
What are the things that I should and shouldn't engage in,
Yeah.
and how often and all that. And that's such an important part of getting along in the world, of making your way in the world, is, do you understand? If you have an accurate view of the world you're in, you can clearly learn how to move forward in it.
Yeah.
And that's why the foundation needs to be what it is. And then I think the further down the order you go, the more you get things that are less self-evident. You know, when you get to pursuit, there's all sorts of different people who are interested in all sorts of different things, doing everything. But
Right.
I think on the foundation, that's probably the most significant thing, the best place to start. And then you can ask yourself, in light of that, what's the best way to move forward? And that's where I think faith is placed on top of that, where it's like, okay, here are some do's and don'ts and some good ideas about how to live your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look at the world around us, right? And the cultural influence, especially, and in light of the things that we allow, the things that we submit ourselves to, or the influences of what society tells us a man should be.
Yeah.
This whole, hustle, grind, kill mentality of like, okay, I believe in hustle.
Sure.
I believe in the grind. I believe that sometimes there are some things that you have to kill, that may be internal a lot of times, but, the influences in our society, and when we think of a man, or being a man or becoming a man, even if you don't like some of the character of the influences in our life, you still see some positive aspects of the masculinity they walk out. I'm thinking of our president, our current president, for example, right? There's a very clear line of people that like him and don't like him. Yeah. There are not, I'm probably in the middle, I'm not like I love everything he does and F anybody who doesn't, or I'm not one who's like, I hate everything he does and F everybody who doesn't hate it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of in the middle to go, I see how there are some things that he's doing that are from a place of strength, but exercised out of a place that maybe there's a character issue that needs to be spoken to or addressed or something like that. And I don't want, so many people will look at that and disconnect the character part from the action part and think that the action is something that they should do. Yeah. Like that, I should be a badass like him, and I should, take no prisoners. And,
right. You see, so whether it's Trump or anybody who's on a elevated plane, they're in front of more people, right? More people seeing what they're doing, and their actions have consequence.
Correct.
Right. So they're by nature, like they are leaders in our culture, right? And you don't have to like them. You don't have to. They're just people who are in front of us that we can see, and their actions have consequences. So those people, it's easy to love and hate because they're doing things that I don't have the station in life to do, right? And so I can hate what they're doing, right? I can really hate what they're doing, knowing that I'll never be faced with that decision, and knowing that if I were faced with that decision, I would do it differently.
Right.
I would be a different person than that person. And you might be, but I don't like looking at those guys very often for an assessment of what a man is. Right. Because they're not close to home. They're not, I don't actually know that person. Mm-hmm. And I don't actually know all the reasons. I don't have accurate information, whether I think I do or not. I did all my Google research and all of that stuff. The base reality is I wasn't there, right? Mm-hmm. And base reality is that there are tons of dollars going towards influencing my opinion in one way or the other or both. Correct. And so it's not a safe place for me to make an evaluation of like, do I want to be like that guy? Yeah. It's like even pastors put up on a pedestal that are on, like streaming and things like that are like that person, you can listen to what they're saying. Yeah. And you can judge based on that. Just like you can say like, hey, there's this thing that Trump did, and I can judge based on that. Based on the information I have, I think that's abhorrent. Or based on the information I have, I'm like, yeah, that needed to get done. Yeah. But what really matters to me is like, what are you saying, Cory? Because we're in the day-to-day adjacent to each other.
Yeah.
And I see the way you live your life, and I'm around you enough to know when you're missing the mark and when you're hitting it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so way heavier are your words in my life.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So why do we have such a pull?
Yeah.
Why does, society as a whole have such a pull to be like, I want to be like Jocko, or I want to be like Bedros, or I want to be like, like all of these guys that are, highlighted. And I know you said there's advertising dollars that kind of push them in our direction. But because so many of the guys I interact with and talk to don't have that filter that's like, but I only see I only see a one dimension of their life.
Yeah, there's a couple things there. The first one that I thought of was, to play kind of devil's advocate on the other side. It's there. What's in front of me is a story. It's not a person. And the story is powerful. It's a powerful story. It's good. Yeah. Jocko, who's like this Navy SEAL who's out there disciplined. He posts every day at 4:30 a.m. and he's apparently strong. He runs a jiu-jitsu academy. He really, he was a genuine warrior. Yeah. And, he's like, and so you can take your values that are important, where I'm like faith, family, and pursuit, or, stoicism, family, discipline. Like those are clearly Jocko's values, right? And he's achieving a lot. He's respectable and successful, and he doesn't seem to tolerate things that are maybe virtueless, or morally, negative. So so, but this is all I'm seeing of him. So on the flip side, it's like that story needs to be elevated in society. That story needs to be elevated. And so on the political side of things, we're having an argument about what story needs to be elevated. Where with Jocko, nobody's voting on Jocko. Sure. It's just like you're voting with your attention and your dollars for Jocko fuel, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or Origin gear. Yeah. And so you go that direction, and you support the story that you want to be elevated and you want to emulate, or you want to be more prevalent in society, right? But why don't most people immediately realize that that's a human who's flawed? I don't know, because I realize it, do they? It's hard because I think I get the sense that at least a portion of society puts people up on a pedestal in a way that might be leaving them susceptible to being let down.
Sure.
Where you're like, and in a way that negatively impacts your life. And that's what I want to avoid is I'm going to follow the leader who's ahead of me. That's where I'm trying to go. But base reality, like the foundation, is the highest aim. Mm-hmm. And that's not a person. Right. Right. That's not a man who's here with us today. Right. Like that is why it is essential that your aim needs to go all the way up to the top. Right. So,
yeah. And I think you touched on something that's really, the power of story, right, is that everybody, you really don't allow yourself to be influenced by people whose story you don't know. So if you dive into, and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those do a great job of telling a story. Right. So if you've seen a piece of a man's story and you're like, I want that to be my story, I don't just want his discipline. I don't just want his stoicism. I don't just want, all the things that he has, his ability, his whatever. I want his story, or some semblance of his story. Obviously, 40-year-old men aren't like, I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL tomorrow. Right. We're past the age cutoff. Sorry, not happening.
I've got a couple months.
You do, yes. You got a couple months.
39.
You can still sign up. You can still enlist. So I think they moved the age to 40.
Yeah.
Side note.
Did they? You think so?
I think so.
Don't tell Amanda. I'm not going to go do it. I'm not doing it.
You're still in shape. You can still do it. I believe you can still do it. But I think people do, because our lives are a story. The most impactful pieces of our lives get developed or discovered even when we talk about our own story.
Yeah.
So I think the mental shift that men have to make is to go, yes, that guy's got a powerful story, but I don't know his character.
Right.
Yes, that guy's got a powerful story, but I don't know his pain journey.
Right.
Yes, that guy's got a powerful story. And there are things that I can, it's almost a filtering that you have to do to go, I want to be disciplined like he is, but he and I have a different story. How can I incorporate that discipline into my journey and make, not his story, my story, but make my story more disciplined.
Right.
Make my story more loving, more humble, more meek. How does that translate to my life? And I think that's, you can agree or disagree, but that's probably a very much case by case basis.
Yeah.
To go, what does humility look like in my life? And that is part of, going back to the integrated man thing, that's part of going, I can't compartmentalize my life over here.
Yeah.
I can't be a prick at work and then be loving at home. Like I'm boxing all of this out over here. We can,
right?
We do a very good job of it.
That's it, right? Is that you can do that, but
we shouldn't,
right?
Because that doesn't it makes us, disintegrated, which means pieces and parts of us are all over the place, and it leaves us in one area of our life feeling like we're not a whole human,
and perhaps like super vulnerable in one area of our lives to the negative effects, like to attack, to use like kind of a metaphor in a sense where you're like, if I'm not whole as a human, there's not, if there's areas of my life that I say, you know what, I'm going to allow this one just to sit over there and just remain, we'll say, a child over here. Yeah. Well, this area of my life grows up. You think that area is not going to somehow affect you?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the mantras, key statements that I live my life by is that three things. I want to be a man who has nothing to lose, nothing to prove, and nothing to hide, right?
Yeah.
So I say nothing to lose, meaning I hold the things that I have loosely, knowing that if something gets stolen from me or taken away or whatever, almost that I'm not like exalting a thing in a way that that if that thing disappears tomorrow, my world just crumbles and I turn into a ball and, roll up in the corner and I'm destroyed for years or whatever. Like I hold things loosely, knowing that and taking that back to the originator, right? Believing there's a higher power that gives and takes away.
Right.
And, and trusting that, okay, God, everything that I have is yours, and I'm going to give it back to you if you're asking for it. Story of Isaac, right? He's sacrificing what was, which is a blow my mind story, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to promise you're going to be a great nation.
Right.
And then I'm going to ask you to sacrifice the thing that would make you a great nation.
Yeah.
This is the thing that all of this provision, future provision, and the nation that's going to follow and your name is going to be remembered is going to come through your son Isaac. Now, give him to me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just that mindset of like, there's nothing that I have that I couldn't lose for God's sake, specifically,
right?
That I would hold on to in a higher place than God. Nothing to prove, right? Mm-hmm. No imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And that's where when somebody comes to you and they're like, you're so-and-so and da-da-da-da, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not that.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to say that I'm not that.
Right.
Because a lot of people's bucked up reaction, like you were getting to, comes from a place to where they think there might be truth in what they just said.
There it is, right? That was the thing, I don't remember what it was. It was like somebody, I'm sure was a reel or something I was watching was like talking about the idea that like if someone's insulting you,
Yeah.
and you give a response, there's probably something, either you're afraid of perception.
Right.
People are going to see something that's not real about you,
Man.
right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to freak out about that. Or that there is small grain of truth there that you're kind of trying to be different than, and you're afraid that, oh no, this person sees it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe there's a small grain of truth that you're either burying or wrestling with, but haven't really vetted out, aren't comfortable with yet, that you're kind of like,
that's what bullies are good for, man.
Yeah. Right. Calling it out of you.
Right.
But I think there's like getting to a place to where you have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
And if somebody calls you something and says you're a so-and-so and da-da-da, and it's okay for you to think that. It doesn't make it true.
Right.
You know, or also I don't have to walk into a room and be the strongest guy in the room. You know, I don't have to, I think that self-affirmation comes from when you have to let everybody know that you're the strongest guy in the room. Even if you are.
Right.
You know, even if you walk in, and it's funny, I used to send memes to the other pastors on staff, you know, how I walk in knowing I can bench press everybody in the room, you know, that sort of thing. Even if you can, you don't have to walk in like I have to prove something, because that, man, the mental and emotional odor of that stinks. When you're around somebody that walks into a room and you can tell this guy's got something to prove that is just not, like, it's coming from an unhealthy place.
Yeah.
It's like, there's some issues.
Isn't
there.
it funny? I believe what you're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people seem to be attracted to some of that. I don't know if that's a right way to say it, because I think everybody agrees with what you said, or most people agree with what you said.
Sure.
But somehow they surround themselves with people who want to, who put them up on a pedestal.
Yep.
In some cases, right? Like if someone say they have to at least be good at something, right? They can't just be crappy at everything. Otherwise no one's going to care. No one's going to follow them. But maybe they're good at some things and really lack on those character things. Right. And people are willing to sacrifice their character because it's like, oh, but he has A, B, and C.
Sure.
And I just look at him just like, that smells terrible.
Yeah.
Keep me away from that.
Yeah. But you're right.
Yeah.
There are people that are attracted to that. They're attracted to the guy, and who knows? We can get in the counseling aspect of it, and maybe it comes from an unhealthy place where that person makes them feel a certain way, or feel diminished in a certain way that they're comfortable with. There's deep stories of abuse in counseling. When you were abused growing up, you seek out an abuser because that's a familiar feeling.
Right.
When you were diminished growing up, you can seek out somebody who's diminishing because that's a familiar feeling. Yeah. Not to say it's healthy at all.
No, not at all.
And you probably even have a twinge that it's not healthy, but you feel comfortable. It maybe not comfortable, familiar. Familiar is probably a better way to say that. I think there are often times where people will surround themselves with people that make them feel a familiar way, but not necessarily a healthy way. So, but I do think that's a good point. People can seek that out.
Yeah.
I think the healthier you get, the more you're like, yeah, that stinks.
Yeah.
And the last one is nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to be. I don't want to live a life where I'm hiding things in this area of my life, this disconnected area from whether it's my wife or my kids or my church or my brothers in Christ or whoever it is.
Right.
That, if they found out about this, man, that would be, it would either ruin my marriage or blow up my life, or people's perception of me would be destroyed. And I think it's when you live a life that's true to who you are, and like you said earlier, the mat doesn't lie.
Right.
Like, you have nothing to prove when it comes in here and you're on the mat. Why? Because you've put in the work.
Right.
You've put in the work it takes to be at a place where you're capable enough to know, yeah, I can handle that. And I've also got the humility to know that there are people out there that can still whip my ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
for sure. Yeah.
I'm not the king monkey, right? Like I'm not the king ape in the bin, whatever. So it's like I get that. I don't have anything to prove. And that comes from a very healthy, very comfortable place of going, yeah, I'm okay living a life continually pursuing to be better.
Yeah.
And not trying to prove anything to whatever group of people.
Yeah.
Again, we jump over to the counseling end of things.
Yeah.
The proving comes from a place of, well, I was never affirmed.
Right.
So I want to do things, even if it's fake. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you a story so that you'll think I'm great.
Right.
So that affirmation will come, and and then you're a poser.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in this room where people are thinking of you as something that you're not, and you're just like, so it's kind of like this false medication of,
right.
Well, they like me and they think I'm a cool person, but they think you're a cool person for the person that you're not.
Right.
Not the person that you are.
I think it's interesting to look at it from coming from such a competitive world and as an ambitious person, because I'm like, I love winning and I want to see how high I can go. I want to see how far I can achieve, And yeah, that's an interesting one, because you think about in the sports world, like the mindset and the makeup of a champion, and a lot of champions are younger brothers, which is funny, right?
Champions, football players,
and I'm not like, I am like a middle child, and, so I had, it was my sister was like a couple years older than me, and I don't know if I had like the same mentality like my little brother has. Like when we wrestle, like he wants to destroy me. He just wants to get me. But I look at that like, where is this healthy and where is it? Because man, I love it. I love getting out there and trying to prove that I can do that. I want to be on the first place in the podium. I want to get the gold medal, or I want to do my best. I think I have some of that like, answered for myself.
Sure.
Right. Where I'm going to draw the line, and I'm not going to sacrifice my family on the altar of trying to prove A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I would love to go get it,
Yeah. Well, and I think here's where we wrap it all around to a place of healthy reflection.
Yeah.
If you find yourself consistently trying to do those things at the expense of everything else good in your life, that's when you have to go, man, what is my motivation behind this?
Yeah.
What am I really, when somebody says something bad about me and I just rage, instead of asking, is what they said true?
Yeah.
I rage because of the perception that I think people are going to have of me based on what that person said. And I just focus on the rage instead of asking the question, is that true? Then my main motivator is what people think, right? When I look at and I think you get emotional versus, physical achievement, right? There's two separate types. And there are a lot of men that achieve a whole lot from a very unhealthy place. But asking yourself the motivational question of what's behind this right now, because there can be a very healthy desire of expression of like, I want that first place podium because this is something I've committed my life to and I've worked hard, and I know that I have a skill level that will, continue to advance me beyond guys that aren't putting in the work.
Right.
I'm putting in the work. I want the first place podium. I don't think anybody says, or anybody that competes, will say, yeah, I don't care where I place.
Right.
Unless you're coming from a place of humility, knowing that, this is part of the journey that's making me better.
Right. I want to get some experience. I know where I'm at. Like, I'm going to come out here and see what I'm made of, see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my best foot forward.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. And you can see that in the reflection of if a guy is destroyed after he, after he is lost or whatever, well, what were you looking for?
Right.
Are you continually seeking to be better, or are you just always seeking to be on top?
Yeah.
And I think that's a clear difference in the motivation behind a bunch of guys. A story of when my son was a kid doing Boy Scouts. We did the Pinewood Derby. Yeah. And I'm like, he put in maybe 10 minutes of work on this car. This is my first time ever building a Pinewood Derby box car, and I just sucked. You know, I'm not a great craftsman. Curtain rods are the bane of my existence. I hate craftsman carpentry stuff. I'm just not, that's not my thing.
Right.
And I made this Pinewood Derby car, and it sucked. And we ran the first race, and it just was far behind the other cars, not to mention the dad who has a track in his basement, and I'm like, oh, these are the people we're competing against. But my son was destroyed. And then he had to run it again, he's crying in a ball, and we had to run it again. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be even worse the second time, but I'm like, the conversation that I had with him afterwards was, you didn't put any work in this. Like, why are you so messed up about something you didn't put any work into? And well, he didn't want to lose. He didn't want to, be a loser, because losing in this thing said he's a loser. And I'm like, no, let's talk about that, because that comes from an unhealthy place. What are we going to learn from this?
Right.
We're going to learn, we're going to grow, we're going to make it become something that we get better at. If this is something we want to get better at. Yeah. We never became Pinewood Derby champions, but we made a better car next year, and he's an artistic kid. So we actually won the best looking car the following year, because he had some cool ideas where he's like, I don't know if I can really make a fast car, but I can make a good looking car. Like, let's create a cool idea and put some Legos on it and all this stuff. But anyways, I say all that to say, we took a minute and reflected at the motivation behind why we were doing what we were doing, and why did that destroy you so bad? Yeah. And I think that's one of the steps to becoming integrated, is going, man, when all of these situations in life come into our world, and when you face all of these, ups and downs and just everything that kind of comes against us, we go, okay, let me pause, which is something we're horrible at doing in today's day and age, because we run at a frantic pace, and we never take time for silence. We never take time for Sabbath anymore. Right. We never sit quietly. Boundary Waters trip is a great opportunity for that. Yeah. To go like, hey, why do we do this? We do this because it gives space for our soul to actually catch up with our mind, or for mind to catch up with our soul, really, to go, what are some of the things that are kind of bubbling up in my world, in my journey, in my heart, in my mind, that I need to pay attention to? And I think all of these situations in life kind of direct us to going, man, there's something over here that I need to pay attention to that is silently affecting something over here. Yes. Because we like to act like they're disintegrated, but they're not. Right. They are integrated. It's affecting this area over here. So I need to give some special attention to that area of my life. So anyways, I appreciate the conversation. Couple of questions I want to ask. I ask everybody when we wrap up. First question is, what book has changed your life?
Yeah. I think, well, so I want to give the Christian answer.
Sure.
Right? Which is
the Bible.
The Bible,
The Bible.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But seriously, yeah, for sure. I mean, that never ends, man. That is I like things that are ancient history as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, it just never ends. There's tons to dive into there. And
do you have a favorite book of the Bible?
Do
you have a favorite book?
I like James
Bible?
Right now.
James?
Yeah, James is, and Genesis. Genesis is good.
Yeah.
Genesis is far enough back that it's like, it's like mysterious in a lot of ways, especially the first like 7 chapters or so.
It's not surprising to me that you would like James, the highly disciplined book.
Right, right. Yeah.
Like, let's execute on what Jesus said.
Yeah.
This is what you got to do. Quit being an idiot and do it.
Oh, dude, he just says exactly. I'm like, oh, you just say it exactly. Whereas everybody's like,
Yeah.
James is like,
one of the
why
sons
are you
of thunder.
doing that?
Yeah.
That's why things are going bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you ask and you're double-minded, why do you think you're going to get what you're asking for?
The Cliff's Notes of the book, you're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. If you want healing, you should pray for it and ask for,
Mm-hmm.
And he says, he just spells it out clearly, right?
Yeah.
Pure and undefiled religion is this, that you visit widows and orphans and keep yourself unstained from the world.
Yep.
It's like one sentence. Now you got all of Christianity right here,
Yeah.
Like, how do you conduct yourself after you realize what Jesus has done for you?
Right.
It's like one sentence.
Yep.
Every good gift and every perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there's no shadow or variation,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, James, so I pretty much have all of James memorized because it just says it like it is. You also just have to be okay with the fact that, like, just don't get offended when you're, when you read James. So that, I think, is probably my favorite and has impacted my life a ton. The Bible as a whole is a never-ending study. Away from that, outside that, more in the secular world, is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep.
Has probably had the next largest impact on my life.
Yeah.
Just because it demonstrates the concept of investing your resources and energies into things that produce more.
Yeah.
Or investing your resources and energies into things that have diminishing returns or negative returns, right? Assets and liabilities. And so if you want to be successful in a financial and, you don't have to want to be wildly rich or anything like that, but just simply look at it from the perspective of you're going to get old one day and you want to maintain your household.
Yep.
Right? Did you spend your time buying Starbucks? Did you spend your time buying the nicest vehicle when your income was down here? Or did you invest all of that into things that make more money, so.
Yeah, that kind of that mindset of instant gratification versus delayed gratification.
Yep.
And he's probably I've read that book and I follow him on social media as well. Mm-hmm. He's probably got a little bit of that spirit of James.
Yeah,
of like, hey, you're an idiot. If you don't do these things. It's very simple.
He likes the word stupid.
Just
stupid.
do the things.
Yeah.
Just do the things. That's great. So Book of James and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or any of Robert Kiyosaki's stuff is actually really good. So, and who are the top 3 people that currently influence your life? We'll go back to the story, right, that we talked about. Who are the top 3 people that currently influence your life?
Yeah. That's a good question. I haven't really thought about too much. Top 3 people that currently influence my life. Mm-hmm. I would say one of them is one of my friend and partners, Phil. Mm-hmm. He's an entrepreneur. He's further down the road than me, but I watch him, pay attention to how he does things. I'd rather be, if you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, I'd like him to be one of those people.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I don't know if I'm allowed to say my wife, but she's definitely one of the people that has the most impact on my life. Yeah. And, I felt like I chose well and intentional, like I'm glad I'm with her and doing life with her. We're excellent partners for each other. Yeah. And then I would like to say you are definitely one of those people in my life. You know, I think the thing you're doing here with integrated masculinity or the Integrated Man podcast, like, I think it's awesome. And I think it's essential. You were one of the first people in my life to point out that we tend to compartmentalize areas of our lives.
Yeah.
And whatever I wanted to do in business or in family, it couldn't have been done well on both fronts without integrating.
Right.
Right. I could have sacrificed my family on the altar of business and success. But I couldn't have marshaled and directed my energies in a mature way to be a man who's whole and complete enough to raise kids as a good example, to defend my life against things that would try to affect my family and negatively, right? Without your input, man. Been a good friend and a person that I want, again, on that inner circle. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for that.
Not
a paid advertisement, ladies and gentlemen. No, that's great. All right, one last question for our listeners, watchers. Who is one person that they should follow on social media?
Yeah.
Other than me.
Other than you. Yeah. Follow Integrated Masculinity.
That's
okay.
right.
One person that just get off social media, guys. Like, don't even do it. Don't even do it. Why do it? What's the point? You know, like, if you can fully curate it 100%, then do it. If you're going to create more than you consume and you can manage that, create good content and then do it. Otherwise, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to say it.
That's a good answer. Good answer. One person to follow on social media. Don't stay off of social media. No, I like to do what I call post and ghost.
Post and ghost, man.
Post and ghost. I get on, I post, just because I know there's value for people in the power of story, and people live there. You know, it's like going to the mall.
Yeah.
You know, that's where people are. That's kind of where people post. But if you're not using it and letting it use you, that's where you get in trouble.
Yeah, and that's actually a very difficult thing to manage. So I've been posting, not to keep going here, but like, I've been posting a lot this year intentionally, you know. And so I post, my goal is 4 months to post every day. And I went 2.5 months, and I haven't posted the last 3 days. I'm trying to navigate how I want to do it.
Yeah.
Because I've just found myself kind of like scrolling more than I used to. And I'm like, okay, I know where this goes. I don't want to scroll more.
Yeah.
I want to engage in meaningful relationships and content. So I think, you know, curate your feed to follow people who are sharing things that you want, you know.
Yeah, like-minded,
that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, news, that kind of stuff. I don't know. There's people who get their news from their friends and they seem okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm in agreement. I try not to spend a ton of time on social media. And once I find myself doom scrolling or just kind of flipping through, then I'm like, okay, I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to turn this off. I need to do something creative. You can do it too, ladies and gentlemen. You can actually set a timer on your phone for the amount of social media that you can have a day, you know?
Yeah.
So I do it just as I allow myself 30 minutes a day. And after that, I have to enter in my passcode. And for me, that's like like the Pavlov's bell of like, ding, 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 ding. Yep. Hey, you've already had what you need to, or not even what you need to. Right. You've already kind of had enough for today. Like, oh, okay, got it.
I use Be Present app, which does that similarly, but it's kind of like gamified a little.
Yep.
And then I have the Brick, which just sits on my fridge. And if I'm switching from using the social media to I'm going to take 7 days and not use it, I'm just going to hit that Brick before I go. And after doing that for a few days or taking a trip to the Boundary Waters or something like that, it's like, oh, I'm way better off without this.
Yeah. Unplug, disconnect. No, that's great. So, well, hey, thanks for watching. If you want more information, integratedmasculinity.life. You can find out more about what we're doing. Follow us if you're on social media. I know we just said don't get on social media, but we're on Instagram and Facebook.
I follow like 1,000 people.
That's right. Yeah. Instagram and Facebook at Integrated Masculinity. We just post content that tries to inspire and tells a story and helps men become more integrated men. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.